This is the Road to Life Plan, Video 4. Step 5. Establish neighborhoodism. With almost 8 billion people living on our planet, the footprint of man is already extreme. Neighborhoodism is a plan for mankind to live humanely on Earth with the smallest footprint possible. How does neighborhoodism work? Utilizing the most efficient houses, apartments, and buildings, people move in together to the degree that is comfortable and acceptable to individuals. We create centralized neighborhood kitchens where neighbors gather and food is prepared in environmentally conservative ways. We use the most energy efficient laundry facilities and incorporate a standardized clothing system that can be used after we use up what we already have. We grow much of our own food utilizing vertical farming techniques and other efficient methods developed by collective intelligence. When a volunteer workforce is implemented, some will volunteer to cook in the centralized kitchens. People will have time to raise their children and take care of the elderly. Children will grow up with adults that care about them instead of being thrust into harsh schools and daycares. People will have time to relax and play. Stress will be gone. Jacques Fresco has a lot to say about how people could live. People can sit around and play guitars and paint pictures and also play on the internet. Education can be provided through the internet and the free time of the people as well. Neighborhoods can also generally police themselves. When people move in together, many houses and buildings will open up so that there will be no homeless people. Another step defines a voluntary population reduction program, so the future will offer more space, more resources, and more restored lands. The sacrifices people make to save the earth will lead to awesome benefits. Soon the rivers will run clean again. Basically, where you live at the time the plan begins will probably be your initial designated neighborhood. People will need to move in together within their neighborhoods to conserve energy. There will be moving and adjustments as people find places where they are comfortable and fit their varying needs. Lack of places to live, however, should not be a problem. Many people currently own more than one house. Those extra houses will be available for others to move into. Standardization and consolidation will make many other buildings available as well. Apartment buildings can be very efficient, and people may choose to live in them, at least temporarily. Remember also that there will be no mortgages and no rent. In this way, existing communities can generally stay together, and the cultural shock from the change will be less dramatic. Collective intelligence can help to suggest good ways to live together and keep an eye on the overall layout of the human population. Not every place will be a good place to live. Sea level rise and other climate change issues will cause people to have to move. Neighborhoodism will allow that in the most humane way possible. The other choice is martial law or succumb to the ravages of nature. The Road to Life plan relies heavily upon the internet. The internet will be an important part of keeping everyone informed and together on the road to life. Internet programs can be used to promote the spirit of all the steps towards the road to life, including neighborhoodism. However, instead of the programs being designed to make man buy more stuff and used to promote money induced propaganda, the internet will be designed to promote the health and well being of all mankind and creation. Instead of being bombarded with money induced advertising that sucks the blood out of us and our planet, humanity can be addressed respectfully and talked to like normal people with logical discussions. Internet programming can also provide education for everyone, with the best teachers possible. Homeschooling with the internet can be done from preschool all the way up to doctorate degrees, and the education will be free. Questions and fears will naturally arise with the concept of neighborhoodism. Wealthier people, for example, may worry about being thrust into poverty neighborhoods, and people who already live in poverty neighborhoods may worry that they will be forced to remain there. Additionally, people who are skilled in technically needed jobs will need to work close to their jobs in order to minimize the negative aspects of commuting. Resolutions to these problems can be addressed in collective intelligence. But generally speaking, again, with a shortened work week and the elimination of money, we won't need money oriented staff. Those people can volunteer to assist the professions that require highly trained people. There will be a time of adjustments, but eventually the gaps will fill in. Step 6. Set up a humane, voluntary population reduction system. We institute a voluntary reduction of the human population by means of volunteer fertilization prevention and volunteer sterilization technologies. The 7.5 billion people population on the Earth today was raised on an abundance of life in the ocean, on aquifers that were full, and upon steady and predictable climates. But today's generation sees a different horizon. They will not have the abundance of food in the ocean, nor full aquifers or predictable climates. The most important thing for all mankind to do right now is to make sure that today's new generation will survive. Population reduction is a very necessary step on the road to life, and once you understand how it works, you will see that it's not that bad. It's certainly not as bad as the alternatives. Reducing the population through these voluntary methods will not only be the most humane way to reduce the population, but it will be beautiful as well. There are a number of ways to reduce the human population, but which is the best way? Which is the most humane way? Climate change will certainly take many lives no matter what we do or how hard we try. Starvation and disease will take many lives unless we can somehow prevent that. Hopefully, collective intelligence will find ways to feed all people. War is an answer, but not very humane. Only the rich having enough to eat doesn't seem very fair or righteous. Governments can, and probably do, secretly sterilize their people. That doesn't seem very righteous either. Women could have abortions every time they get pregnant. Not many people will be for that. We could choose to remove all medical from pregnant women and thus ensure strengthening of the gene pool, plus a drop in population. Though maintaining a strong gene pool is vital for a species of life, removing medical from pregnant women is certainly not an option. We know the rhythm method doesn't work, and no one wants to pump chemicals into their bodies to inhibit natural bodily functions, so birth control drugs are not a good answer either. This leaves only two humane methods of population reduction that I can see. One is that a young woman from puberty enters a voluntary system of temporary sterilization that can be reversed when the woman is ready and wants to have a baby. And the other is for the woman to volunteer to be permanently sterilized. Men can volunteer to be sterilized as well, and that should be encouraged. But the fact is that one man can impregnate 1,000 women, but a woman cannot become pregnant if she is sterilized. I imagine that the technology either exists or is very close to existing for women to have reversible sterilization. Even now, doctors are obtaining 20 to 70% success rates at tubal ligation reversals. Collective intelligence will come up with a solution. If the option of reversible sterilization is not available, then contraceptives and volunteer permanent sterilization for both men and women are the only acceptable alternatives, neither of which are desirable. It will be harder if temporary sterilization cannot be used. However, much money is made from the growth of the human population. Where there is money to be made, there is also deception and secrets. And under the influence of this poison, technology that can help mankind can have been tucked away so that it will not come out and disrupt the flow of money. Knowing this symptom of the poison of money and the amazing capabilities of modern medical science, I strongly suspect that we do have the technology, but the effect of the poison has not allowed us to use it. An imagined woman's perspective. A young woman, girl, is 12 years old and has physically progressed such that she can become pregnant. Her mother takes her to the doctor, and the doctor gives the young lady the treatment for permanent yet reversible sterilization. The woman then goes through her life without worrying about becoming pregnant or getting an abortion or having an unwanted child. She lives in a neighborhood where there is already a child or two. Maybe she is close to those children. When she is older, she decides she does want a child. Everything seems right, and her neighborhood people help her feel good about it. So she goes back to the doctor and gets the sterilization reversed, gets pregnant, and has a baby. But she is sensitive to the sincere quest that mankind is on to reduce mankind's footprint and leave a better life for the generations of the future. Money has been eliminated, so her hormones are not seduced by advertisements from baby supply corporations. She feels that having only one baby is not only good for her, but good for the world as well, and good for her baby's future. After she has her baby, she then goes back to her doctor and gets sterilized again, probably permanently sterilized this time. As her baby grows into a child, she shares her baby as much as she is comfortable with other women in her neighborhood. She knows that this sharing helps satisfy the natural cravings for motherhood that other women have. The child grows up with love and care. The woman has had one child and feels good about it, knowing that the reduction of the population continues, so that when her child grows up, he or she will have less people to compete with, and more open spaces, and more of everything, and the prospect of a better life. And if not a better life for a while, at least they will have life. This is beautiful. It can be hard to envision how wonderful this kind of volunteer life can be while we are still living in the world of money and our eyes are still blinded by its poison. American women today are heavily influenced by science and psychology tuned advertising directed at them that play on their natural instincts in order to sell them baby stuff. I strongly suspect that women today are having more babies than they naturally would here in the USA because of this advertising. I happened to overhear a television sitcom the other day that probably more women watched than men. I noticed it had a storyline where a woman was involved in a pregnancy. The story seemed rather emotional. Then I noticed that there were also commercials about baby things for sale. It was apparent that corporations were using advertising to incite the hormones of women into wanting to have more babies so they could sell more of their product. All of this sterilization is voluntary. No one should force another to not have life if they feel compelled to have life. How fast can population reduction occur? According to the World Bank of data, the average woman on Earth today has about 2.3 children in her life. If we were able to reduce that figure to one woman per child, there would be a population decline in one generation of at least 50%, crudely estimated. This correlates to the fact that the world's population has increased by 2.5 times in the last 60 years. What would a future of half the population offer to the youth of today? According to the world's population projections, there will be 9.8 billion people on our planet by 2050. What if in 2050 the world could have 4 billion people instead of 10 billion? The children of today could look forward to at least twice as much open space as we currently have now, instead of less than a quarter of the open space that we have now. When we combine population reduction with the elimination of money and oil, and the creation of a voluntary workforce, and the restoration of the lands, and the tearing down of buildings, the amount of open space will be much more. And there will be much more natural life, and clean waters, and birds in the air. The footprint of man would be drastically reduced. If we presented this concept to our youth of today, what would they want? What would you want if you were young? Step 7. Develop and deploy a free energy system. There are indications that make me think that unlimited free energy sources are available for mankind's use. I just now did a search on YouTube for free energy inventions and was immediately shown a scroll of almost 150 different choices of what looked like genuinely well thought out videos of home inventions that also looked plausible. In fact, I find it hard to believe that not one of them is true. Then I think about the stories we've all heard about people with energy inventions that have supposedly been squelched by the energy companies. And I think about all the modern technology we have today. I think about the heat pumps and how efficient they have become in transferring heat. And I recall documentaries I've watched about geothermal power plants and how new technology will let them use binary systems where a heat transfer fluid similar to antifreeze is used to bring the heat to the turbines. And then, of course, there is solar and wind and frictionless bearings and etc. But when I assemble all these thoughts together and then see that we are burning dirty fossil fuel and creating nuclear waste and destroying our planet, it makes me see how poisoned we are and how much potential there is once money is all gone and we can open our eyes. An endless supply of clean energy can help us restore our planet tremendously. The power can be used to run equipment for carbon removal from the atmosphere and the oceans. It can be used to hydrolyze hydrogen, which can then be used to run motors without pollution. It can replace all the dirty fuels. It can run the internet and provide our other energy needs. And it can be used to refreeze the Arctic. The success of the Road to Life plan essentially depends on a new clean energy supply. Finding it is one of the main tasks that will be assigned to collective intelligence. I think it is highly likely that it already exists. If we cannot find it, then life will be much more difficult and the chances of coming through will be greatly reduced. We have to get money out of the way so that we can try. While the development of this new source of energy is pursued, fossil fuel use will probably need to continue, although at a reduced rate, as much as possible and for as short of a time as possible. These details are for collective intelligence to fill in. In addition, the removal of environmentally irresponsible energy systems must take place. We must end our use of nuclear power and dispose of the nuclear power plants and waste as quickly and responsibly as possible before another Fukushima happens. We must dispose the oil and coal power plants also, though with less urgency. I want to make one final note here about geothermal energy. Geothermal energy is highly spoken of on YouTube. I have heard it called a no brainer. The electrical grid in America is already in place. These documentaries say that binary geothermal power plants can produce an endless supply of heat to run steam driven turbines with no pollution. Geothermal energy might be the endless supply of free energy that we need. And unlike solar and wind power, geothermal can run continuously. Geothermal power plants could be built where practical and relatively easily plugged into the grid. If oil corporations can build derricks on the ocean 10,000 feet above the ocean floor and then drill an additional 20,000 feet into the earth below the water to get oil, certainly mankind can tap geothermal. It is simply the transfer of heat. We transfer heat with our heat pumps and air conditioners. Even a refrigerator is a heat transfer device. The technology is not that difficult. Again, collective intelligence will help us in this area. Step 8. Change the infrastructure systems. Changing the ways we treat the earth means changing the way we treat the lands, how and what we grow, how and what we mine, how we treat the waters and oceans, and how we consume. Basically, the plan is to do everything we can do to create the smallest footprint as possible for mankind on Earth. Changing the ways we treat the Earth will also be a main study of collective intelligence. Change the recreation system. With all the spare time the road to life creates, human beings will want to draw upon their gifted instincts as well as desired instincts. Humans need to play music, draw, write, act, make craft things, build things in shops, travel, hunt and fish, and do all kinds of activities. It is good for mankind to do these things as long as we don't add to the footprint of man while we are doing them, or mitigate, or however is decided. Collective intelligence will help us determine what we can and cannot do. Change the food system. Before I begin, I want to state that this applies to myself first. I am worse than most Americans in the things I eat. I am considered obese. The fast food lane is my favorite line. I love meat, especially bacon. Bacon donuts are wicked good. Furthermore, I don't care how I eat. I eat on the run frequently. Whatever I can stuff into my mouth that has enough salt and pepper on it and fills me up is about all I care about. But the road to life says that we must almost completely end our use of meat. I am more than willing to adjust my gluttonous ways in order to save the world. It is a no brainer to me, especially after the work week is reduced to 15 hours and neighborhoodism provides community kitchens. Giving up my double bacon cheeseburger is a small sacrifice compared to the alternative of the end of all life on earth. I will gladly take it. We all know in our hearts that we shouldn't turn animals into dollar bills and then eat them. Let's say you raised a beef cow from birth like a pet and loved her. You named her Daisy. You watched her grow up and she watched you and your family grow up. Then you watched her have a baby cow of her own one day. Would you seriously be able to kill her, butcher her, and eat her? I couldn't. I suspect that most people couldn't unless they were starving. I have never had a pet cow or a pig or chicken, but I have had cats and dogs. The thought of killing them and eating them is repulsive to me. So why am I blindly doing this very same thing for almost every meal that I eat? Why do I go to the grocery store and buy meat without a thought for the life that was given? How can I do this horrible thing? It is the poison of money combined with the power of oil that causes us to think this way, or rather to forget this way. The poison blinds us. It has set up America with a marketplace that is completely separated from reality. We go to the store and look for the best prices for the quality we want. We don't think about the animal that was slaughtered. We think about the expiration date and the price. We don't think about gutting or skinning the animals. We don't think about the terrible lives and deaths these animals are forced to endure. The mask of money has covered our eyes and ears and hearts. Before the Industrial Revolution, there were no refrigerators. You didn't just walk down the aisle in a grocery store and pull meat off the shelves. Times changed with the inventions of the internal combustion engine and alternating current electricity. We went from the economy of horse and buggy without engines to the economy of driving cars and electric lights in every home almost overnight. The change in life was so big and so fast that people didn't know how to react. I imagine it was a subtle but gut wrenching feeling to see the rivers and bays polluted with toxins that mankind never dreamed of handling before, and to see the decline of fish and game. Many people dove into religion as the answer. Many went into college and sought to master the system. Many simply couldn't compete. But everyone was seeking a road to life. This insanity has progressed to this day now. Under the influence of this poison, we still don't know where we are, why we're here, or what we should do. We simply go with the flow. Fish consumption will also be included in changing the ways we eat. Today, we scrape the ocean floors with nets and we cover the ocean top with floating plastic. We pollute the oceans with toxic wastes and oils. We show no respect whatsoever. Whales and dolphins are purposely bleaching themselves to die in great displays all over the world to tell mankind to stop. But we don't hear them or see them. A poison has blinded us. Mankind must restore the oceans. We must rely upon our experts to tell us how to lower the ocean's temperature and acidity. Collective intelligence will be immeasurably important in this task. On April 20, 2016, the Scientific American magazine posted the following quote, "We knew coral bleaching was a serious issue in the Great Barrier Reef, but the scope of just how widespread it was has been unclear until now. Extensive aerial surveys and dives have revealed that 93% of the world's largest reef has been devastated by coral bleaching. The culprit has been record warm water driven by El Nino and climate change that has cooked the life out of the corals." End quote. The decision to eat meat can be whittled down to a simple question. Would we rather eat vegetarian and live, or eat meat and die? The choice is ours. The road to life, however, lies in the leaves of green. Change the transportation system. Standardization and consolidation, combined with a 15-hour work week and neighborhoodism, could reduce traffic by around 90%, is my guess, especially if we make that the goal. Collective intelligence can help a lot here. Climate scientists are telling us that we need dramatic change now. When the shift is made to eliminate money, reduction of traffic can happen nearly overnight. This is the kind of change we need. Neighborhoodism and a 15-hour work week will mean most people will work only 1 or 2 days a week. They may choose to work 1 week and then have 2 or 3 weeks off, or even do a monthly plan or yearly plan if they want. The point is that people will have a lot of extra time, time to travel if they wish. By what means can they travel? Lots of time to travel means that slower modes of transportation can be used. A newly designed transportation system can accommodate this. Again, heavy use on collective intelligence. Bicycles, possibly including electric bikes, can be used to transport individuals and even families. Gas stations can be turned into bike stations where people can rest, sleep, charge, etc. Some motels can be set up to accommodate the bikers. It might take longer to make the 500-mile trip, but the system can be designed to be user friendly. Most ages would be okay with riding bicycles, but older people might not want to. Semi trucks could be fitted to carry passengers as well as cargo. There may also be buses and trains. The Road to Life attempts to accommodate all human needs and wants as long as they don't increase the footprint of mankind on Earth. Unless an unlimited non polluting energy source is developed, fossil fuel will need to be rationed. Fuel rations could turn into a form of underground currency. It would be like waving a bottle of whiskey in front of an alcoholic who just quit drinking. The road to life is based on the assumption that everyone will come together for the common goal of survival for the future. We must do whatever needs to be done to follow the road to life and ensure the survival of mankind. Aircraft travel will virtually be non existent. There is a problem called global dimming, which is caused primarily by the airline industry. When the airlines shut down, the masking effect from the loss of the aerosols and sulfates and other pollutants the jets put into the sky will increase the average temperature by as much as a couple of degrees Celsius. This is a big deal. Something will need to be done to mitigate this problem. This is a problem for collective intelligence to figure out. Changing our transportation system means changing the ways we use our fossil fuels. Today, we use a lot of fuel for recreational activities. The road to life requires this to change. The use of fossil fuels and other contaminants for the sake of man's recreation must be eliminated. There will be no more NASCAR or hydroplane races or motorcycle races, but there are many other things to do instead. Instead of water skiing, for example, people can take up sailboarding and kayaking. Hiking to a mountain top and parasailing down is another good idea. Utilizing sailboating instead of powerboating may be on the list. Promotion of neighborhood baseball teams and other competitions can be good ideas as well. Golf courses might be made environmentally friendly with volunteer labor, or we might figure something else out. We will also need to change the ways we keep up our home yards by removing insecticides and other chemicals from use. Collective intelligence can help tell us what we can and cannot do. Maybe we won't be able to mow our lawns anymore, but then maybe we will have a lot more time for music and art. The internet will be a big help also. Internet use will decrease the need for travel. Change the resource system. When money is eliminated, many dangerous and environmentally detrimental industries can be eliminated. If we tear down a building and restore the reusable materials, we will likely find that we already have more than we need far into the future and will not need to extract any more from the earth. The mining of gold, for example, is one of the most destructive and pollutive forms of mining on earth. Massive amounts of dirt must be removed in order to acquire very small amounts of gold. If we need gold for certain electrical connections and such, then let's use what we have stored already. If we are not building the giant military industrial complex, cars, and nuclear power plants anymore, then why would we need to mine more gold? Continuing with gold as an example, the question becomes what is the true value of gold? Mankind cannot eat gold. And why do we supposedly need gold for jewelry when many other more easily obtained metals can be used? Is the use of gold for jewelry not an idolatrous waste? Is it worth sacrificing our beautiful mountains and streams for? For those who are Christians, what does Jesus say about gold? And what was Jesus betrayed for? Money puts a high value on gold, but dogs and cats and horses don't place value on gold. When industries are consolidated and many factories dismantled, gold can be stockpiled and recycled just like other resources. The destruction caused from gold mining will need to be cleaned up and the lands restored as much as possible. The true value of gold is therefore a negative value because of the negative effects that the mining of it has done to the earth and the amount of time and energy that mankind will have to spend to repair the damage. It also has more negative value in that it is the beginning of money and has caused man to forget about his responsibility to nature and also caused man to kill each other or run each other over or enslave each other in pursuit of it. The true value of gold is actually, therefore, a negative value. In other words, mankind might be better off without it. Agriculture and textile productions can be changed to be more efficient as well. People living in neighborhoods will now have time to grow much of their own food. When money is out of the way, the need to dress up for work and wear expensive suits, exotic silk ties, and such will basically be gone. Farmers can switch to growing hemp, bamboo, and other more environmentally friendly textiles for our needs and wants. Once money is out of the way, deeply inset industries will no longer be able to monopolize and dictate what we use. Logic will prevail instead of the poison of money. 1 acre of hemp, for example, will produce 2 to 3 times as much clothing material as cotton. And cotton, though it occupies only 1% of the U.S. farmland, uses 50% of USA pesticides. 1 acre of hemp grown in a single season yields as much paper as up to 4 acres of trees, which obviously take a long time to grow. Hemp is a weed that grows prolifically, requires little weeding, insecticides, or herbicides, and can be turned into some 25,000 different products of all kinds, including clothing, paper, ropes, building materials, oils, cosmetics, paints, biodegradable plastics, and even food. Step 9. Restore the earth. Restoring the earth has got to be the absolute funnest step of the road to life. I can't wait for us to go down into that valley that I have watched fill up with buildings and asphalt for over half a century and start tearing those buildings down and planting grass and trees. I can't wait to clean up all that trash and use intelligent design to help everything return like it was as much as possible. I can't wait for mankind to see the habitat come back and watch the wildlife grow. This is why we are here.